Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Pavel Vałuszko and I've been a Networks and Systems Administrator for almost a decade. At Test Army Cyber Forces, I deal primarily with end-user education, early anomaly detection, and social engineering attacks. Now, today I would like to talk about a topic which I think is very interesting, called monitoring machines and human behavior. Now, let's approach this topic with a problem and a solution type of framework and roll back to the year 2014, because in this year, IBM has released a very interesting study in which we can find out that in over 95% of all cybersecurity incidents investigated by IBM recognized human error as a contributing factor. Now, this does not necessarily mean that the human beings were the primary reason for the cybersecurity incident taking place. However, it does mean that the human nature has negatively impacted the situation at one point or another. Now, some of you might say 2014 was a long time ago, and surely things have drastically changed ever since. Well, to those I would say let's take a look at the year 2019. And here we have results of ABI research, which was done on behalf of Canon, about top reasons for security breaches. Here we can find out that 30% of all cybersecurity breaches were due to malicious insiders primarily. Another 25% was a direct result of a human error. And the actual circumvention of the software, the actual hacking, was only responsible for 17% of the attacks. And if you look at all the literature coming, whether it's from IBM, Deloitte, KPMG, McAfee, or Verizon's DBI report, there's one central overarching theme, and that unfortunately in cybersecurity, human beings have been and still are the biggest problem. Now, we talked about the problem, now let's talk about the solution. And one of the solutions I'd like to speak to you about is network monitoring software. Network monitoring software is a piece of software that gets installed on a central server and gets deployed across the network. And it checks the network for a variety of things. It can monitor workstations, servers, laptops, mobile devices. It can monitor services, such as databases being up and running. It can also monitor industrial machines, as it receives a heartbeat, which is a piece of data packet that lets the receiving end know that everything is up and running and that the hardware is functioning properly. Now, when we think about network monitoring, we usually think about it in its traditional sense, that is reactive network monitoring. Reactive network monitoring simply means working post factum, aka shortening response time. So when a machine gets offline, for example, network monitoring software can notice that situation, create an alert, and a technician can be sent who notices that alert. If a service becomes unavailable, such as mail service stops running or a database stops responding, network monitoring software can usually notice that issue a lot faster than an employee, generate an IT help desk ticket, and the IT folks can take care of the situation. If no heartbeat is received from an industrial machine, an automatic script can be set up that will be automatically executed and that will, for example, restart the machine to get it back up and running. But that was reactive monitoring. Proactive monitoring is simply taking a look at the values we have and predicting certain things. Security monitoring aspect means applying cybersecurity measures to the predictions we already made. So for example, network monitoring software can take a look at net flow, which is the flow of information across the network. As soon as it finds out unauthorized software being used, such as BitTorrent, it can immediately suspend that account. If somebody logs in after business hours, this can mean two things. It can mean that the employee is simply working late, or it can mean that there has been a case of a password leak. Even if the authentication is okay, that does not mean that this login was legitimate. Therefore, if the network monitoring software is set to parse logs and look specifically for these situations, and once it notices the situation, can be configured to lock the account down to prevent somebody from further using these credentials to extract any data until the administrator verifies manually the situation and makes a final decision whether that was a case of a password leak or an employee working late. The same can be said for numerous login attempts. For example, if somebody's typing in the same password several times in the log and they're making a mistake, this can mean simply a typo, and human beings make typos all the time. I do myself. However, if there's numerous login attempts and all of them fail in a very short period of time, we can consider that as script behavior. And when network monitoring software with a log parser looks for these things, it can classify that as a brute force attack and ban the entire IP address range to prevent that person or that organization from trying to log in again. Now, as you can imagine, monitoring is a lot of work. Every single situation that so far I outlined requires administrative oversight to make a final decision whether it was script behavior, whether it was a legitimate login, where that login came from, whether somebody's working remotely, and etc. Artificial intelligence, however, is the latest hype in network and security monitoring because it works 24/7. Rather than waiting for the administrator to make a decision, it can make a decision based on immediate action, aka I noticed something wrong, I immediately fix the situation. It's 24/7. There is no downtime. Moreover, it's preemptive. It can be set to work on better safe than sorry situation. Surely it can cause some issues for the employee by locking their account. However, it's better to cause a temporary issue for the employee trying to work late rather than have that account open all night long and somebody using that login to extract information. Moreover, it can cross-examine data from a multitude of sources, which is very difficult to do for human beings because you have to correlate logs from IPs, you have to correlate data logs from databases, from different files which were accessed. Making sense of all this data is very difficult and time-consuming. However, artificial intelligence works on metadata. It can look at these things and make advanced correlations. And most of all, it minimizes the administrator workload because a lot of the decisions that used to be made by the administrator, artificial intelligence can make by itself, therefore freeing the administrator to take care of other things, and only when the artificial intelligence does not know what to do in a situation, only then it will ask the administrator what to do in a particular situation. Well, this is it for me. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you found this information interesting.